This video is for comedy purposes only, and as such, should not be taken too seriously. And as it turns out, the Penguin had a role lasting about 35 seconds in this season.
Can't go back, Bob.
We can! You don't have to do it!
Pro tip here, guys. If you ever want to stop someone putting the gag back into your mouth, just slightly move your head away. Huge herd of walkers making their way down train rail tracks and walking all drag-footed like, and not one falls over. Only just thought about that, but considering we fall over all the time, tripping on things, and we're not dragging our feet constantly.
Hey, she got a name?
Judith.
She your daughter or something?
Really? That moment when you are clearly given $10 for your episode's CGI budget. Carol rests the tip of her gun's muzzle on the fence, presumably for increased aiming, but in the next shot you can see it's no longer on the fence, presumably for decreased aiming? The idea that she was lucky enough to hit that target with a firework from that distance.
Is that Terminus?
How would he know? He doesn't know what direction Terminus is in. All he'd be able to answer this question with is, depends if Terminus is a fair ways off in this direction I'm looking at. If it's not, then no. Invisible Ninja Walker gets caught on fire. Guns with absolutely zero recoil. I got a few sins here. First of all, how the hell are they getting their hands on so many damn candles? I mean, most of them look brand new. It's either a case that there was, for some unknown reason, tons and tons at this train station prior to the world ending, or that again for an unknown reason, travellers seeking refuge randomly carried a lot of candles with them. The next sin is that you'd never keep these lit during the day, as candles do last a long time, but not enough to warrant using them during daylight. The third and final sin here is that someone went around and lit all of these, and that'd take a ton of matches, and it's not really a great purpose for a limited quantity of what's left to use in the area. Yeah, by all means, don't shoot her when she's on the ground without a weapon when you can partake in a nice little scuffle instead.
We fought and we got it back, and we heard the message. You're the butcher.
And you are the literal butcher. This entire scene has barely any words at all, but is incredibly powerful. The reunion is such a beautiful moment for me, and it's one of my personal favourites from the series. For this, I'll remove 2 sins. Half a head moving slow-mo shot looks not as cool as a full head and a bit of body shot. The fact that they then went on to successfully pull off the slow-mo shot a moment later makes the first one, which lasted barely a few seconds, even more random.
There's nothing.
Well, he gave up on that awfully fast now, didn't he?
It's a beautiful child.
You are guessing, since you know she's facing away from you and all?
I don't trust this guy. And why? Why do you trust him? Everybody can't be bad.
Solid, shitty reasoning.
we're strong enough that we can still help people. And we can handle ourselves if things go wrong. And we're strong enough that we don't have to be afraid.
What a bunch of crap. Everything he's saying is not even vaguely correct. We're strong. You're only strong when you have food and water inside of you. We're strong enough to not be afraid. Yeah, because that worked out incredibly well for you at Terminus, didn't it? Which happened about 2 days ago. Just going to sigh heavily, sin this, and move the hell on.
We can use the shelves to block them.
Or, and this is kind of out there and it might sound crazy, you could have used melee weapons to stab them from up there where it's safe. Given the building they're inside, it'd be very easy to put together a weapon long enough to just stab them from up top. But like I said, it's a crazy idea.
Bob is out there somewhere, scared, alone.
Maybe not alone. Daryl and Carol are missing too.
Just how the hell did they manage to get out of a church with noisy ass doors at the front of it anyway?
There's space in it.
I should forgive them? For hurting him? For trying to kill us?
Yeah, in fairness, that's some pretty bad advice when given to her 2 hours after Bob comes hobbling back after seeing them all chewing on his leg. This advice would best be given perhaps a few days down the line, or maybe even a week. Kind of odd how they walk out of the church so casually when they could literally be right in front of the entrance, hidden in the woods, and just mow them all down as soon as they're out in the open. You know, it's only now at this point that I'm actually wondering as to the reason why they brought Bob back to the church in the first place. Surely he'd have been better kept by them as a hostage of sorts. I just can't think what kind of reason there'd be to return him at all, other than maybe thinking he'd wake up and tell them roughly where they were, but that could backfire if he didn't have a clue where they kept him. Don't know, makes no sense to me, so it's worthy of a sin.
Until then, you've got laundry duty, and I want my uniform washed separately and pressed.
I know.
Decent use of whatever remaining battery power you have left, so you can do some fucking cardio. I'm guessing at the end of the world, food isn't exactly everywhere you look, and since you're not spending your day sat around watching TV, my guess is that cardio isn't really absolutely necessary anymore.
You see these bruises? He has internal bleeding, but I need a CAT scan to know how bad, and even if I could determine that, I don't have the tools to save it. I told you, this was a waste of resources.
Although you didn't tell her all of that information at the very start. Also, I think considering he's listening to a record player and she's using a cardio machine, neither of them can really talk all that much about wasting resources.
She can't control them. But she doesn't because it's easier.
It's also a lot harder for a woman in this situation to control men when there are no laws and rules anymore. I'm not sure how she'd control them unless there was a gun involved, but then that transcends control and becomes something else entirely. Did he tell you you'd have to rush to find the key whilst he kept her busy outside in the hallway? Because if so, that's completely wrong. You clearly have all the time in the world to be looking at pictures and other wasting time like exercises. Take a seat, put your feet up and blow off some steam. Oh wait, that doesn't sound right. Yeah, fucking hurry up and look for the key.
You're letting it so that we make it.
No one's coming, Dawn. No one's coming.
Beth, seeing that her words weren't quite getting across to the confused policewoman, decided to try and dumb it down to a caveman type sentence.
We did almost die today. And we don't have a car. And we're drinking toilet water.
And you've been on the road for weeks, yet have been unable to grow more facial hair than Maggie.
You got a vehicle. It just so happens it's got 500 gallons of water on it.
He assumes that it's been completely untouched since all of this happened, whereas at the very least you'd think some very thirsty people would have over the course of a year thought to actually grab all of its water. We also weren't shown him checking it beforehand, so really he hasn't a clue and is just guessing. Well, in case you were wondering how to waste a huge amount of drinkable water, this should answer that question in full. Attempts to clear this intake with his bare hands when he has a cut on the back of his hand.
I know why you have the haircut.
I told you it's because I like it.
I believe that. You're not the person people think you are. You want them to know who you are.
Hairstyle psychologist Maggie interprets meaning from a fucking haircut.
I used to work here or something?
Something.
But I'm not going to tell you, because intrigue. 8 minutes of a very boring scene in which the two of them find a bed and say a few words about stuff and then they burn a couple of walkers. Walker gets shot with an arrow through its head and falls next to a red pole looking thing, but in the next shot you can see that the red pole is actually in front of the walker by a few feet. Putting an arrow in your mouth that was just recently pulled out of the head of a walker.
Right there.
Finger pointing works pretty damn well if you're inside the same room and becomes less effective when you're inside a much larger room filled with more things that you could be pointing at. This is why we give verbal clues at the same time. Hey, there's a spider above the lamp on the right, for example. As you can imagine where this scene is going, pointing thus becomes infinitely less effective when you're looking out at a fucking city and you're not giving any verbal clues. Why? Shoves the book back into her hands because he wants to be her therapist? This van is obviously falling down engine first, which would make sense since it was stationary when it fell. So due to this, at first it looks like it'll completely flip, but then the inside view clearly shows it's going directly down instead, and finally it lands perfectly on all four wheels. Now that is one magic van. Blade has the same amount of blood on it before and after this happens. Clean blade, dirty blade. This is one magical machete.
Ooh, one down. I know somebody who won't be having any.
I'm starting to feel funny.
Well, I feel fine. I guess I'm gonna.
Oh boy! That means I win! I get to eat.
Never got allowed at all.